Hi, welcome back, Arianna. How are you today?
Better. How are you?
That's good. We're doing good. Pretty good. Last time we talked about the loss of your sister and how you were feeling about that. So how are you feeling this week? Have things changed at all for you?
They're getting a little better. I guess I'm more able to see through the fog. I guess that's the right way to put it. I guess it's I'm accepting it more.
Okay. So you're starting to kind of move into a phase where you're accepting that this is something that has happened and you're not able to change, but you know that it's just something that happened to you.
Something that I'm gonna have to learn how to deal with for the rest of ever.
Yeah. So what are you feeling most concerned about as far as everything goes? Is it just the loss of your sister? Are you feeling other things that are unfamiliar to you, or that that you don't really know how to deal with?
That's a good question. I guess that so I'm feeling the grieving from losing her. But there is some, I guess, anxiety, like leaving my house anxiety, kind of, and depression that has been lingering, that isn't necessarily correlated with losing my sister. I've just,
something that was maybe there before that you didn't really acknowledge or didn't know, but now it's coming up as a result of a traumatic experience for you.
More like I knew that I had depression, but I was able to ignore it.
Okay.
And I thought that I was in control of it, but
okay, yeah. And so you said that your anxiety for you looks like you're having trouble leaving the house, and how do you see that presenting itself in other ways? Is it interfering in any social interactions?
Sometimes, for example, I a couple weeks ago went back home with a friend of mine, and it was hard for me to leave the house. I mean, I did, but it was hard. It was anxiety-inducing to think about leaving the house, even to just go back to my parents' house.
Okay, and so do you think that the fear of leaving the home is because it's the home that you share with your sister, or do you think that you have fear of something happening to you if you leave the house? Or do you think it's just more you're sad, so you don't want to go out so much?
I think it's a little bit that I'm sad and I don't want to leave. But also, I didn't mention this last time, but I kind of inherited her dog. And I've never had experience with dogs. I've only ever had cats. And so I feel, and I was going to be gone for 9+ hours. And so that was causing anxiety, leaving him, the dog, at the home. And because he knows what's happening, or he knows something's happened, and that is a whole thing. And so I don't know. It's just a jumble of anxiety feelings.
Yeah, that's understandable. It's been a trying time for you. So you can tell that the dog knows that there's something missing. He's seeing the loss of your sister as well.
Yeah.
Noticing that her presence is no longer there.
Yeah.
So do you feel like, you said it's different for you because you've never had or you've only had cats in the past. Are you struggling with things with him? Is he misbehaving and stuff like that?
He's he's not really misbehaving. He's just got much more energy than my cat has, and needs attention. Unlike my cat, who comes to me when she wants attention, and the dog is very much I need attention. And so juggling that with work and with my depression and issues, and then when I have to leave the house has been difficult.
Yeah, okay. So let's backtrack a little. You mentioned that you're noticing that you were depressed and it was something you kind of kept at a distance before. When do you think that you started to feel that depression prior to the loss of your sister?
In college, in undergrad. It was a year before I graduated, about a year before I graduated from college. And I'm not sure what triggered it. I think it was the stress of college and keeping a job and being able to provide, but also having a social life and all of the things that come with being in college. And that it just about junior year, I started to develop this depression.
So it was kind of a result of just being overwhelmed with everything that was going on in school life and stuff like that. And
there was a little bit of anxiety in there, which led to all of it.
Yeah, well, that's very normal to feel a little sad when things get overwhelming and you have a lot of anxiety issues coming with that. So starting from the time that your sister became ill, how long has it been since her loss and from the time of her original diagnosis?
It's been about 2.5, 3 months since she passed away. And she was diagnosed, I want to say like a year ago? Right around, probably right, I think it was right in the middle of summer of 2015. Okay. So a little more than a year ago.
Okay, yeah. So you kind of knew that she was sick for a while before she finally passed. So let's talk more about that. Did she change her behaviors at all after her diagnosis, or did she continue to drink, which continued to make her worse?
She attempted to change her behaviors at first, but it was difficult. She had a lot of her friends that were around that didn't change their behaviors, and so that was difficult for her, and she wasn't necessarily 100% upfront about it with our parents, which was difficult. And so at first she changed, but slowly she just kind of settled back into it. Not necessarily as heavy as before, but she still didn't. I don't think that she accepted it.
Yeah.
That she really wanted to acknowledge it. So
there was a bit of denial there about her diagnosis and what she was going to have to do to be able to come back from that or become healthy again or what have you. Yeah. Okay. And so you said, we talked about your parents last week. Do you feel that they are a good support system for you? Do you see them helping you with what you're feeling?
I think that yes and no. Yes, that my mother has always been a very strong woman, and she has always been able to assert herself. I guess to assert herself, but to do it in a loving way, and because she wants to help. But also, it's been, but they're experiencing it too.
Yeah.
And so
it's harder to lean on them because they're going through it as well.
Yeah.
Do you feel that you have other people in your life that you've been able to lean on in this time?
I have some friends that have been very helpful during this time, but I'm also kind of leaning on friends that that experienced it too. Like it's just a bunch of us that we all were friends with. My sister.
Yeah. So they're also going through it as well.
Yeah.
So there's nobody that's outside of the situation
Not really.
that can be supportive without feeling the same emotions that you're feeling as well.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, that's very hard. Especially, sometimes it can be helpful to have people who are going through the same things that you're going through because they understand it and they understand the pain that you're feeling. But it can also be helpful to have somebody, who's more objective and they can just be there to support you completely without needing you to help them with their side of the issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe we could look into, would you be open to trying like some support groups in the future?
Yeah, I'm definitely open to that idea. I really just want to be able to move from this, and if that's going to be the way to go, then I'm open.
Well, there are a lot of good support groups out there. There are groups for people who have lost siblings, and there are also groups for people who have gone through what your sister went through. So maybe those could both be some good options for us to explore later on, or as we progress in the process.
Okay.
But so it sounds like you're still dealing with you're kind of settling in to what you're feeling as you're living in your place, taking care of your sister's dog. But it's still very difficult for you to transition back into the life that you had before this happened. So what do you think you could do that could help make that transition easier?
I think that it might be a good thing to maybe step back from everything and maybe distance myself from some people. That's difficult though, and but to get a clear head and maybe be able to focus on a new productive path.
Yeah. And when you say distance yourself from people, do you mean those friends that you mentioned, your parents?
No, not my parents, but the friends that I mentioned.
Okay. Yeah. And do you see some things in their behaviors that you feel are affecting you more negatively than positively?
Yeah, we're all pretty young, and we didn't go to college together, but, I moved up to Austin, and then it was just a party atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that kind of atmosphere is still continuing, but in a more depressive and negative aspect, and it's not necessarily conducive to
your own healing.
Yeah.
So basically, you're seeing more like drinking, things like that, and they're using them as coping mechanisms.
Yeah.
And you feel that that's affecting you negatively.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned last time that your drinking has increased as well since the loss of your sister. Mm-hmm. So how often would you say you drink now in comparison to what you drank before the loss of your sister?
Well, so I don't know that it's necessarily more. Mm-hmm. It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
Prior to losing her, it was much more social and, much more. We would go out and we'd have a couple of drinks and, it would be okay. But now it's more like I'm at home and I'm drinking by myself because I want to not feel emotions versus I want to be social with friends.
Okay, so is that something that you're hoping to change? You're hoping to get away from that that pattern that you've developed to cope with the loss of your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I know that there are groups like AA, but I don't know that I necessarily feel that I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
So I'm kind of like on the you're hesitant to seek out a group, but I am also aware that it might be beneficial.
Yeah, well, maybe if you don't feel that you're an alcoholic just by maybe the amount that you drink, we could look into something just like for you, maybe even just going to support groups would help. If you help you deal with your negative feelings, and then maybe you'd see less drinking from that alone. But if you feel like it's becoming a problem, we could also explore some other types of group therapies where people talk about drinking and drinking to excess. So that could be something else that we could explore in the future.
Okay.
But if you don't feel like you're there yet, that can be something that we can do later. If you feel like it's becoming more of a problem, or if you're not seeing any changes in that as you're healing mentally and starting to be able to move on and cope with the loss of your sister. Okay. So are there any other things that you're concerned about? Just health-wise, anything, any other problems that you're having?
Not that I can think of. I guess it's just being able to pull myself out of this environment that I'm in, and reevaluating and moving forward. And I'm kind of like hesitant to do it because it almost feels like I'm leaving her.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that is not rational. But that's just, I guess, the emotion that you're feeling. Yeah.
Well, I think that's really good. I think that's a good strength on your part, is that you're kind of looking at things objectively and you're seeing negative patterns in the interactions that you're having with your friends. And even though it's hard, you're not saying what I'm understanding from you is you're not saying that you don't want to be friends with them. You're just saying that you think you might need to take a step back from your friendships with them while you focus on your own healing so that you can deal with this. Because, I mean, ultimately, she was your sister.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a different perspective from what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And you did live with her, too, so that's something else that I'm sure has been very difficult for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's a strength for you, is that you're starting to kind of look at it from a different perspective, and you're seeking kind of healing and acceptance of the situation that you're currently in. And I think that's a really good place for us to start. I think that's a good foundation for us to move forward with in the future. But you said you're worried about leaving her behind. And I think that, you know, a lot of the things you do are still surrounded by things that remind you of her. And I don't think you ever really leave people that you lose behind. And I think the important thing is just to, you know, remember what you most enjoyed about her, remember the good things about her. And I think that'll be a good part of your healing as well, is to kind of continue to remember her, but be able to accept it in a different way, if that makes sense. So, do you consider yourself a religious person, and do you have any other support systems as far as that goes?
I wasn't really raised with a religion. And so I don't necessarily have that kind of support system. It just wasn't something that we did as a family. And so my mother is Catholic, but she didn't really expose us to that religion. And my father just left it up to my mom. So what do they call it? Like Easter Christmas Christians?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how my family has always dealt with religion. So I have a very limited knowledge of that as a resource.
Okay, I was just curious if that was something that you considered important to yourself, or if that was something that influenced you in any way. Because I know a lot of people, when they're going through loss like this, they tend to return to some kind of higher faith. But some people, that doesn't work for them, you know? It's all about what's right for you. And so I was just curious as far as that point goes. Okay, so let's start looking at setting some goals for you that we can work on meeting and work towards as we are progressing in your counseling. Okay, so we talked about support groups. So is that a good place to start? What do you feel like is the most important thing that you want to accomplish?
The most important?
Yes.
So I guess the most important is I just want to be happy again. And I mean, not happy, but better.
Okay. And what does being better look like for you?
I want to be able to have a structured day again. I don't want to sleep as much as I do currently. I want to be able to enjoy my work instead of feeling like it's a chore and like I can't do it. I want to be able to embrace this new set of challenges with the dog and not feel so overwhelmed and anxious and worried about him. And I also guess I just want to be able to partake in. So I do have other friends that weren't necessarily friends with my sister and had the same, habits that she did.
Yeah.
But I've distanced myself from them, and I guess I want to be able to take interest in their lives again.
So you want to reach out to some of these people that you feel like you've lost contact with in the past. That could be a good place to start, like we talked about before. It could be good to have people to talk to that are outside of the situation. They might be able to give you more objective opinions and advice, and that could ultimately be really helpful to you. And it's also good, like you said, you want to take interest in their lives again as well, and having other people to focus on could be a good outlet for that too.
Yeah.
But let's talk about, so you said you want to enjoy your work. Did you enjoy what you were doing before this happened?
Well, not necessarily. So I'm a delivery driver, but that's like my job that just pays the bills. I actually, my career is in like theater, but that's only seasonal, and whenever jobs come up and whenever filming comes up, and it's not consistent. I guess and even the job opportunities I've had in that realm recently, I've been felt very chore-y.
Okay, well, so let's put these in order of what we think is most important. So first, we're going to get you in with some group settings, and you'll be able to talk with people who have been through a loss like yours. And I think that'll be like, do you feel like that's a good place for you to start? Just immediately getting you into some being able to talk to some of the people who have gone through what you've been through in a different way that's similar.
Yes. Okay,
so we can start there. And another place, another thing that might be good is maybe some self-care things for you. Like, I don't know, just doing things that used to make you happy that you've been kind of avoiding lately because you've been feeling sad. And that could be something like, I don't know, going outside and taking your new dog on a walk, or taking your sister's dog on a walk. And that could be another way for you to bond with the dog as well. And another thing is there are also the option, we could look into some dog training courses, which you, even though you said the dog doesn't have behavioral problems, it could help you learn how to handle the dog and to be its master, and be able to get it to listen to you as its new owner better. So I don't know if that's something that you'd be interested in doing, but I think it could help both of you guys.
Yeah,
ultimately.
That makes sense.
And just ultimately, I think just set goals for yourself every day. Like, even things as small as today I'm going to go out and I'm going to go do this, this, and this. I'm going to go buy groceries today, and I'm just going to get out of the house and see the people, Start by taking small steps, and I think eventually you'll be able to get to those bigger steps. And we can talk more about maybe looking into maybe if you're not totally satisfied with what you're doing in life, maybe we can look more into helping you apply for more theater positions and seeing how we can expand giving you more of what you want from that. I'm assuming that's your dream. That's what you want to do the most. So maybe I could help you get things in order, and we can start looking into applying more places and auditioning more.
That sounds good.
And you could be doing the other jobs less, and you could be doing more of what you want to do. Do you see any issues in any of these goals that we're setting? Any things that you think might be a barrier for you as far as that goes?
I think maybe the applying for more jobs might be because theater jobs don't pay the bills.
Oh yeah, that's understandable.
And I do need to be able to pay the bills. So that's an issue, and I can't take off a ton of time to work a theater job from my money-making job because he will eventually fire me.
Okay, well that's a good thing to look at. That's just a suggestion, Maybe we can look at other ways to accomplish that goal that wouldn't interfere with your other job.
Yeah.
And we can explore that more in our future sessions. I think we made some good progress today, and I'm really excited for some of the goals that we've set, and I'm interested to hear how they're working out for you. Another thing I suggest is maybe when you're having negative feelings, start writing them down and start writing how you're feeling about them. And that way we can discuss those as you come to meetings, and we can work more towards getting you out of the house and dealing with what's the word? Like you're not wanting to leave. We can work on dealing with that, and also helping you cope with the loss of your sister. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to our next meeting, and looking forward to seeing how you've grown and developed in the time that we've had apart. So,
well, thank you.
I'll see you next time.
How do you spell? I'll let you do